Could I please meet with the president of the Hunters Association before we start the review again? The employee seemed surprised. The president? Yes. Jinwoo understood how the review worked. The employee quickly grabbed the phone. Yes, yes. Yes, sir. That's right. It can't be measured. I understand. Yes, I will tell him that. The president of the Hunters Association had agreed to meet Hunter Sung. Allow me to take you to the president's office. I know where it is. You don't need to take me. The surprised employee watched as Jinwoo walked to the elevator, and ended their conversation quickly. How does someone who isn't part of the association know where the president's office is? The employee worried as he watched the numbers go up on the elevator. To his surprise, the elevator carrying Jinwoo stopped on the correct floor. Oh. Ding! As Jinwoo stepped out of the elevator, a face he knew walked past him. Jinwoo turned around. Hey! The man pushed the button to hold the elevator doors open. Are you speaking to me? It was Tasa Kang, someone who watched people for the Hunter Association. You're not on the list of important hunters, which means you haven't told the association you can use stealth. He stopped suddenly. How did you find out? Someone will ask you to get revenge for his daughter. I don't care what you do with the bad guys. But if you hurt anyone who doesn't deserve it, I'll stop you. Taezik jumped at Jinwoo's strong words and reached for the knife he kept hidden. But it wasn't there. Are you looking for this? Jinwoo threw the knife up and caught it a few times before giving it back to Taezik. Taezik realized this man was not like the other hunters he had fought before, so he took the knife back without saying anything. You only get one warning, knowing Jinwoo could easily defeat him if he wanted to. Taezik nodded, and put his knife away. He called to Jinwoo, as the other man walked away. Wait, who are you? Have we met before? Jinwoo went into the president's office at the end of the hall without answering. Once Jinwoo was gone, Taezik looked at his sweaty hand, and let go of the button that kept the door open. I think I just saw a ghost. President Go. Jinwoo stopped walking. There was President Go looking healthy and reading papers. Jinwoo stood in the doorway feeling very sad to see him. President Go laughed a little. You walked in here so boldly, but now you seem afraid to come further. Please, come in, Hunter Sung. He moved to the couch and waved for Hunter to sit down. Why don't you have a seat? Jinwoo looked surprised to realize this was the first time President Go was meeting him. He stood still for a moment before sitting down. Thank you. President Go said to Jinwoo. Since you came here right after your evaluation, it seems you understand what's happening. That's correct. Then let's get straight to the point. Before you start, I have an idea. President Go was surprised. This young man already knew he had been reawakened as a very powerful hunter, but confidence could be a good thing for someone young. He thought this man across from him was pretty nice. Maybe that's why he didn't try to hide his smile and let the man keep talking. What do you want, Hunter Sung? I'm asking if you could change the rules so that a hunter's helpers could be counted as part of a team. Change the rules. That was a really big request. I think you have something to offer me that I can't say no to. Jinwoo stopped and thought for a moment. I will defeat the monsters on Jeju Island. Jinwoo needed to rebuild his team, and there were many strong creatures on Jeju Island that he could fight. If President Go agreed to this plan, he could get more soldiers and move forward with his ideas, without worrying about how many people were needed for attacks. Jinwoo wanted to finish this part before using the special potion to wake up his mother. But President Go thought Jinwoo was being reckless. Stop saying such things. Jinwoo knew President Go might react that way. Instead of becoming weak, he quickly let all of his magical energy flow out for a moment. A huge amount of power came from Jinwoo. Only very strong people can understand how strong another person is. And President Go, who everyone thought was the most powerful of all, could not believe the power he was seeing. How is this possible? What is this? He shook with excitement. President Go had never felt so much magical power from anyone before. Jinwoo seemed stronger than even the best hunters in the country. President Go was very surprised. I can handle the monsters on Jeju Island. That was something President Go had always wanted to do. He was about to tell Jinwoo he was being too careless, but he decided not to. Are you really sure about this? Jinwoo nodded. I'm the only one who can handle this. Please let me do it. Jinwoo looked at the remains of the bug-like magical creatures spread out everywhere. And right under his feet lay the body of the Ant King. It hadn't been long since he last saw him, but Jinwoo already felt sad about Baru. He called out, Rise. Jinwoo watched as shadow soldiers came out of all the dead ants, including Baru. My king. Jinwoo slowly nodded, as he looked at the thousands of ants kneeling before him. His new army was promising to be loyal to Jinwoo. After speaking with his soldiers, he felt certain about something. Let's end this. Gathering his army wouldn't make him feel better inside. Baru looked up, worried, but Jinwoo realized the concern on her face and the ants' distress weren't genuine. Looking at the person in front of him made Jinwoo feel really sad. He yelled as loud as he could. I know this isn't real. Stop pretending, and show yourself. The fake world felt so true that he had tried to act like it was real for a little while. He stayed longer and longer, but a sad feeling inside him kept getting bigger. He couldn't hide it anymore. Jinwoo shouted at the energy around him. Faster! He suddenly stopped talking when he noticed something different. Everything had stopped. Time wasn't moving. The unmoving eyes of the ant soldiers made Jinwoo feel chilled. At that moment, Monarch's domain quickly expanded from around his feet. Everything the shadows touched disappeared completely. Baru, the other shadow soldiers, the dead bodies, the ground, the ocean, and finally, even the sky were all gone. The world quickly became dark. A strong voice echoed from the shadows. You can stay in this world as long as you want. It would be like being stuck in a really good dream. Jinwoo looked around, trying to find where the voice was coming from. Are you saying I'm stuck in a world you made up? No, I didn't make this world. You did. What do you mean? That didn't make any sense. He stopped arguing because he felt something coming closer behind him. Jinwoo quickly turned around. A person was walking toward him from the dark distance. He wore very strong armor. That was much better than the armor of the other shadow soldiers. Jinwoo was almost speechless when he saw him. This world was made because you wanted to fix your past mistakes, and I helped with my power. This is the world of death. It's also my place. Jinwoo suddenly felt like the darkness around him was welcoming and comfortable, more so than anywhere he had been before. A peaceful rest death, that meant the person who said this, the place beyond waking thoughts, must be Jinwoo wanted to know for sure. And who are you? The man asked as he came nearer. I have been watching you for a long time. You have been very close to losing, but you have also fought harder than anyone. He had been watching Jinwoo. Finally, the man stopped right in front of Jinwoo, and looked down at him with eyes that seemed to take everything in. I show how much you have struggled, how strongly you have fought, and what you have earned through your difficulties. I am the end of life, a time for rest, and the feeling of being scared, all together. The man's words echoed strongly inside the hunter. Jinwoo's heart beat fast, as he remembered all the times he had fought hard to stay alive. Then, the man took Jinwoo's hand, and put it on his own chest. Jinwoo's eyes grew wide. He could feel it even through his heavy armor. How could he not? It was a familiar heartbeat he could always sense when he focused. It was the sound of another heart beating from a hidden place. It was the black heart, beating powerfully in this man's chest. I, the man said softly. Am you? Because he carried the black heart. Jinwoo understood what those words meant. He looked to his right, and a tree as tall as many skyscrapers stacked together, reached into the sky. He looked to his left, and a fast train zoomed by so quickly he barely saw it. Things appeared right away, whenever he thought about them. It was like something was made from nothing at all. The Shadow Monarch agreed that this was correct. Here, you can do whatever you want, because you and I are equally powerful. The Shadow Monarch nodded. He looked at the large tree, and it quickly became a small ordinary flower. Even though this power only worked in this place, the Shadow Monarch's ability to build, destroy and change things was amazing. Jinwoo now had incredible power. He blinked, and flowers started to grow from the ground around his feet. Maybe it was because he was very aware of things, or because they were linked, but the hunter could feel the Shadow Monarch was happy to see the flowers bloom. The Shadow Monarch looked back at Jinwoo. I have been waiting a long time to meet you. He properly introduced himself. I am the Shadow Monarch, the King of the Dead, and I control the power of death. I watch over the darkest places. Even though Jinwoo was standing before death in all his greatness, he wasn't scared at all. They were truly connected. Jinwoo felt very emotional when he met the person he felt he was meant to be with. Finally he could ask the question that had been bothering him since he first learned about the system. But why did you choose me? Why had the system picked Jinwoo to be the player? Was it simply because Jin Woo had made it through the 2 dangerous dungeons? No. There had to be more to it than that. Now was the time to find out the truth. I will show you, the Shadow Monarch said slowly as he reached out a hand toward Jin Woo. When his finger touched Jin Woo's forehead, everything around him began to change. I will show you how we started, and how it will all end, and also how you began. Has so much of the world ever cried out, at the same time? Shouts filled the air, as the monster's knife went into Hunter Jin Woo-sung's chest. Then, everything became quiet, like a heavy piece of metal falling, and people only made sad sounds as they watched Jin Woo fall to the ground. Oh, first, the strong hunter Thomas Andre, and now Jin Woo. Everyone was gone. People were frozen with fear, realizing there was nobody left to protect them. What's happening? Huh. Those were the last words, the news reporter said before the broadcast stopped. A huge gate was floating in the sky above Seoul. Monsters suddenly appeared and began defeating the strongest hunters one by one. People everywhere thought the world might end. But they couldn't stop watching on their televisions even after the signal was lost. The helicopter filming the battle froze and fell from the sky, leaving a trail of smoke. The Frost Monarch looked down at Jin Woo's body and said, "He is dead." The Fang Monarch, using his sharp senses, also confirmed that Jin Woo was no longer alive. The powerful monsters were happy they had won. They had stopped one of the ruler's friends from causing trouble, but they still had things to do. The 2 monarchs quickly looked to where Thomas Andre had gotten away. Leonard felt a chill as he realized they were watching him. Oh no, he had been ready to fight and possibly die against the strong man, but now he also had to worry about an ice elf. How had Hunter Sung been able to fight them for so long? Leonard's heart beat quickly. He was now the only hunter who could delay those 2 enemies. He took a deep breath. Hey, I can't feel Hunter Sung anymore. What happened? Thomas asked, still not feeling well. Leonard had trouble answering. The 2 enemies turned around at the same time. Something impossible had happened. The man's heart was completely broken, but now a strong heartbeat was coming from his body again. How could this be? The 2 rulers looked at each other, worried. They realized they hadn't considered every possibility. Could it be? They thought that if they killed the man's body, the shadow ruler would also die, just like they would if their bodies were destroyed. But their enemy was the king of the dead. Everyone eventually dies, but it wasn't certain what would happen to him. For one person, death could mean a new beginning. No, this can't be happening. They needed to prevent the real king from appearing by defeating the body he was using. Without thinking, the 2 powerful kings attacked Jin Woo, slashing with their claws and throwing an ice spear at him. The mages gathered all their magical energy into their weapons, hoping to stop Jin Woo's body from becoming the form for the Shadow Monarch's return. But their attacks were stopped by the knives of a quiet stranger who suddenly appeared. The Shadow Monarch was still asleep, so who could this be? The 2 monarchs were very surprised their attacks didn't work. A person with 2 small knives stepped out of hiding and showed themselves. They looked angrily from under a shiny gold robe. Don't touch this child. Long ago when the world began, there was only light and darkness. The greatest power divided the light, creating messengers of light, and divided the darkness, creating rulers of darkness. The main job of the rulers of darkness was to destroy the world, while the messengers of light were meant to protect it. They continued to fight each other in battles that never ended. Finally, the most brilliant piece of light approached the greatest power, tired of the constant fighting. "Oh powerful ruler, why don't you help those who fight for you? Why do you ignore our pain? Have you not heard the soldiers who have died serving you? Please help us. Please give us the strength to defeat our enemies." We planned to defeat our enemies and present their leaders as gifts. But there was no reply from the powerful ruler. Then, a piece of the ruler's power understood something important. The fighting between our side and the other side was just a game to the ruler. The ruler didn't want the fighting to stop because it was amusing. This discovery made the piece of power very sad. The fighting would go on forever as long as the most powerful being lived. Sadness changed into anger, and anger turned into strong dislike. As an act of defiance, the special representatives pulled out their swords. To try to stop the pointless war, Jin Woo saw armies of soldiers marching, and it seemed like they stretched across the entire universe. Wow! Then more soldiers came into view, ready to stop the rebels. The Shadow Monarch held out his hand and pointed to the 6-winged fragments of luminosity in front. "Look, it's me from the past." He was the only special messenger who disagreed with fighting against the most powerful leader. His small group of soldiers was defeated by the combined forces of the other leaders. They remained loyal until the very end, and the strongest of the light warriors died seeing his brave soldiers overcome by many enemies. He thought everything was finished, but then, he opened his eyes in the dark and understood that the greatest power had secretly given him a special ability, because he was its most trusted helper. A dangerous force, a last resort plan for when everything failed, was unleashed. Deep within the darkness, the King of the Dead became aware of this power. He ripped off his damaged wings, broken from fighting, and used the surrounding shadows to create new armor for himself.
Wake up!
He then roused the sleeping spirits in the darkness and returned to the world with his new army. But by the time he arrived, everything was already finished. Long ago, powerful beings called fragments of luminosity, who called themselves envoys of the light, defeated and killed the most powerful being of all. They then became the new rulers of the world. Using the power of the being they defeated, they started searching for other powerful rulers called monarchs. When they captured Rija, the first monarch and the king of giants, the other monarchs understood how dangerous things had become. At that moment, the Shadow Monarch offered help to the monarchs. They accepted his help to fight against their enemies, the rulers. Soon, a big war started between the 7 rulers and the 9 monarchs. As the war continued, the Shadow Monarch's army became very large. The Shadow Monarch had time on his side. Because he was doing so well, it looked like the monarchs were going to win. But as the Shadow Army grew as strong as the powerful army led by the King of Wild Dragons, others besides the rulers began to worry about them. As the war neared its end, the Monarch of White Lightning and the Fang Monarch decided to betray the Shadow Monarch. What happened next was clear. Together the Demon Army and the Beast Army attacked the Shadow Army, almost completely destroying it. The Fang Monarch, a powerful leader, left his soldiers early in the battle. This meant the Monarch of White Lightning, another powerful leader, had to face the consequences of the first leader's actions. Jinwo was surprised to finally hear what Balan said. As he was dying, this information had been left out of earlier reports. Then, 4 angels with 6 wings gently floated down from the sky. This was the end of the images the information had shown him earlier, standing with 4 powerful leaders. The tired Shadow Monarch was too weak to control his Shadow Army. He dropped his sword to show he gave up. But if they defeated the Shadow Monarch here, how could the Shadow Monarch standing before Jinwu still exist? Jinwu had trouble swallowing as he watched what seemed like the Shadow Monarch's defeat. Just then, the rulers all knelt before the Shadow Monarch. The ruler at the front of the group began to speak. "Please forgive us, Great Light," the rulers said. They were asking the Shadow Monarch to forgive them, even though they seemed to be winning. They could have easily defeated him, but they wanted to make peace instead. Long ago, they had all been friends, created from the same bright energy. This was a way to honor the bravest warrior who had commanded the envoy's soldiers in battles against the monarchs. Even though the Shadow Monarch wasn't their commander, they still greatly respected him. That is why they did not listen to their leader, the most powerful of the luminescent fragments, when he told them to defeat the Shadow Monarch. Instead, they bowed down before him. "We don't want to fight anymore," the Shadow Monarch shouted. "How can you say there is no reason to fight?" He grabbed the leader, who asked for forgiveness, and pulled him up. "Didn't you fight against my master with your weapons? He was our master too. That makes your actions even worse." Even though the Shadow Monarch was angry, the leaders remained respectful. "You know how we felt about fighting against our former master, don't you?" The Shadow Monarch looked around, and saw his soldiers had come to watch. They looked worried. His loyal soldiers. It was awful to watch them get hurt or defeated in battle. He was their leader and he had led them to fight for their king. "We just want this war to be over." The Shadow Monarch relaxed his hold on the ruler's neck. "And now we might have a way to make that happen. Yes, you can stop the fighting now." The Shadow Monarch picked up a sword and gave it to the ruler. "Hit me with that sword." He looked at the other leaders and said, "Stab my heart with your spears. That will cause the end you are talking about. You will win this war." But the sword fell from the leader's hand. The other leaders did not fight back. Instead, they begged for forgiveness. "Please don't punish us," they asked. Their sadness hurt the Shadow Monarch more than any attack could. He had lost his soldiers, his leader, and had fallen into darkness. The one thing that brought him back was wanting to get even. The need for revenge had driven him this far. He was so set on getting revenge that he took charge of the army of those who had passed away. But he wondered how he could feel such anger toward these leaders who were asking for mercy and trying to stop the battle. He had fought to keep his leaders safe, and they had fought to protect their soldiers. Everyone involved was caught in a situation they didn't choose. He understood the people kneeling before him weren't enemies, but friends who would help him through anything. Because he no longer had a reason to keep going, the Shadow Monarch shouted, "End me." He wanted it to be over right away. He would rather disappear and find peace, forgetting all his troubles. Do it now. But the leaders didn't move, remaining on their knees with their heads down. The Shadow Monarch looked up at the sky. The soldiers of the rulers stood tall and remembered their greatest fighter. Even though they had fought on different sides and disagreed about many things, they still respected him very much.